It has a weight to it. It presses against your chest until you forget how to breathe. And as he looked at the young rookie beside him, shaking in the beam of a cap lamp, Silas realized the truth. The way out was gone. The alarm clock didn't need to ring. Silas was awake before the buzzer. He was always awake before the buzzer. That's what 40 years in the mines does to a man. It wires your internal clock to the shift whistle. 4 a.m. Pitch black outside the window. Pitch black inside the room. Beside him, Martha breathed softly. A rhythmic, comforting sound. The only peace he would get all day. He slid his legs out from the quilt. His knees popped. A dry, cracking sound. Like stepping on dry twigs in autumn, every joint in his body carried a memory. A slip on the wet floor in '98. A piece of slate hitting his shoulder in '05. The body keeps the score. And the coal mine always wins. He moved to the kitchen in the dark. He didn't turn on the light. He knew the path by heart. The linoleum floor was cold on his bare feet. He started the coffee pot. The smell of Folgers filled the small room. It smelled like gasoline and morning. He stared out the window at the valley. You couldn't see much, just the silhouette of the ridge against the stars. That mountain had fed his family for 3 generations. It had bought this house. It had paid for his daughter's wedding. But it had also taken his father's breath away. Black lung, the slow suffocation. It was a cruel landlord. That won't tie in. Silas poured his coffee into a thermos. Steel, dented, scratched, husked, like game. He put on his boots. Heavy leather, steel toes. Lacing them up was a ritual. Left boot, tight. Right boot, tight. He grabbed his lunch pail. A bologna sandwich. An apple. 2 aspirins. Martha had packed it the night before. She always wrote a note on the napkin. Be safe. Love. M. He never read it until he was underground. It was bad luck to read it in the light. He walked out the front door. The air in West Virginia tastes different in the morning. It's damp, heavy with fog. He climbed into his truck. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. The drive to the portal was quiet, just the tires humming on the asphalt. He passed the old church. He passed the closed-down general store. Ghost towns in the making. At the bathhouse, the mood was somber. Monday mornings were always quiet. Men were changing into their grays, hanging street clothes in baskets, raising them up to the ceiling on chains, like ghosts hovering above their heads. Morning, Silas, someone grunted. Morning, Red, Silas replied. Not much talk. Everyone was saving their breath. Take Neo. Day. Needed later. Silas checked his belt. Self-rescuer. Battery pack. Hammer! He grabbed his hard hat. He ran his thumb over the sticker on the side. Safety first. A nice sentiment. But down there, luck mattered more than safety. He saw the new kid. Caleb. 20 years old. Fresh-faced. Still had clean fingernails. He looked nervous, shifting his weight. You all right, son? Silas asked. Caleb jumped. Yes, sir. Just duck, tired. Silas nodded. Tired is good. Tired keeps you careful. It's when you get energetic, you get stupid. They walked to the elevator. The cage, a metal box hanging by a cable, the gateway to the underworld. 30 men packed in tight, shoulder to shoulder, knee to knee, the smell of chewing tobacco and sweat. The gate clanged shut. The bell rang twice, and the floor dropped out. The descent is fast. Your stomach stays at the top for a second. The walls blur past. Wet rock. Concrete. Darkness. The temperature rises. It's always 58 degrees down there. Winter or summer, it doesn't matter. The mine has its own weather. The cage hit the bottom with a thud. The gate opened. They stepped out into the main tunnel. The main's vast, wide, reinforced with steel beams. But Silas knew better. Those beams were just suggestions. If the mountain wanted to move, it would move. "All right, crew," the foreman shouted. "Section 4 today. Let's move coal." They piled into the mantrip, a low, flat rail car. Like a sled on wheels, they traveled 3 miles in. Deeper into the earth, the ceiling got lower. The air got thicker. This was Silas's office, a black void 300 feet down. Work in the mines is rhythm. It's a dance with heavy machinery. The continuous miner roared, a massive beast with spinning teeth. It chewed into the coal seam, ripping the black gold from the wall. Dust filled the air immediately. Thick, black, greasy. Even with the water sprays, you tasted Italiano. You felt it in your teeth. Silas was on the roof, bolter today. His job was to pin the ceiling, drill a hole into the rock above, shove a long steel rod in with glue. Make sure the roof didn't fall on their heads. It was precise work. Dangerous work. You were standing under unsupported rock, trusting your eyes, trusting the sound. As the drill whirred, Silas's mind drifted. He thought about the bills on the counter. The truck needed a transmission. The roof on the house was leaking. Inflation was eating his pension before he even got it. That's why he was still here. 62 years old. He should be fishing. He should be sitting on a porch swing. But the world above was expensive. The world below paid the wages. It was a trade-off. His health for their security. He looked over at Caleb. The kid was shoveling loose coal. Spillage. Back-breaking work. Silas remembered being that young. Thinking he was invincible. Thinking he would only do this for a year. Buy a car? Get out. 40 years later, here he was. The mine has a gravity. It pulls you in and doesn't let go. Lunchtime. Or whatever time it was. Time doesn't exist underground. They sat near the feeder breaker, turned off their cap lights to save battery. Total darkness. The kind of dark that hurts your eyes. You can't see your hand in front of your face. "Hey, Silas," Caleb whispered. "Yeah, kid, you ever think about leaving?" Silas chewed his bologna. "Every day, son. Every single day." "Why don't you?" Silas took a sip of lukewarm water. "Because I know what I am down here. Up there. I'm just an old man with a bad back. Down here, I'm the guy who keeps the roof up. I have a purpose. And the money?" Caleb asked. "The money keeps the lights on for Martha. That's all that matters." They sat in silence for a moment. "Listen, you can hear the mountain talking, the groan of the strata shifting, the drip of water miles away, the skittering of rats." "Rats are good," Silas said suddenly. Caleb startled. "What?" "If you see the rats running," Silas said, "you follow them. They know when the bad air is coming. They know when the roof is weak. Never kill a mine rat?" Kayla laughed nervously. "I'll keep that in mind." "You do that," Silas said. He finished his apple. He wrapped the core in the napkin. He read the note. Be safe. Love, M. He folded it carefully, put it in his shirt pocket, over his heart. All right, Silas groaned. Standing up. Breaks over. Let's get that coal. 2 p.m. 2 hours left in the shift. Te Were in a retreat section. Pulling pillars, taking the coal that held the roof up, then backing out. It was the most dangerous mining there is. Intentionally causing a collapse behind you, controlled chaos. But something felt off. The air pressure changed. Silas felt his ears pop. He stopped the drill. Quiet. Light. The machinery idled down. The men looked at him. What is it, Silas? The foreman asked. Listen, a low rumble. Deep. Like a subway train passing under your feet, but there were no trains here. Methane, Silas whispered. It's a blower, a pocket of gas under high pressure. Releasing all at once. Move! Silas screamed. Move back. But it was too late for running. The floor heaved. Actually buckled upward. Then the sound hit them. A thunderclap trapped in a bottle. The shockwave knocked Silas off his feet. He hit the wall hard. His helmet flew off. Darkness. Instant, choking dust. Rock was falling. Big slabs. Small rain. The sound of steel screaming as beams twisted. Silas curled into a ball, arms over his head, waiting for the end. He thought of Martha's garden. He thought of the tomatoes she planted. He thought, I'm sorry, Martha. Then the noise stopped. Silence. Ringing in his ears. High-pitched whining. He coughed. The air was thick with rock dust. It tasted like copper and sulfur. He reached out in the dark. His hand found his helmet. The light was broken. Hello, he rasped. His voice sounded small. Is anyone there? A groan from the left. Silas. It was Caleb. I'm here. Kid, stay put. Silas felt for his belt. He found his backup light. A small flashlight. He clicked it on. The beam cut through the dust like a knife. What he saw made his blood run cold. The tunnel was gone. 10 feet in front of them, a wall of rubble. Roof fall. Massive. He turned around, 20 feet behind them. Another wall of rubble. They were trapped in a bubble. A pocket of air, 30 feet long. Just him and the kid. And the mountain on top of them. Where are the others? Caleb cried. His face was covered in blood. Just a cut on the forehead. Head wounds bleed a lot. Looked worse than it was. They were further up. Silas lied. He knew the others were likely on the other side, or worse. But panic kills faster than bad air. They made it out, Caleb. They're calling it in right now. Silas checked the air monitor on his belt. T was beeping softly. Oxygen levels were dropping. Methane was rising. Put your rescuer on, Silas ordered. Now! They popped the seals on the metal canisters, pulled out the rubber mouthpieces, clamped their noses shut. The chemical reaction in the canister generates oxygen. It gets hot. It burns your lips. But it keeps you alive. For an hour, maybe 2. They sat against the wall. The dust settled slowly. The reality set in. 300 feet of rock above. 2 miles to the exit, and no way out. Time becomes an enemy. Minutes stretch into hours. They couldn't talk with the rescuers in their mouths, so they sat in silence. Communicating with eyes. Caleb's eyes were wide, terrified. darting around the small space. Silas's eyes were steady. He held the flashlight. He kept the beam on the roof, watching for cracks, watching for the dribble. Small stones falling meant big stones were coming. After an hour, the air cleared a bit. The monitor showed oxygen was stable. The ventilation must still be trickling through the rubble. Silas tapped Caleb's shoulder, motioned to take the mouthpiece out. "Save it," Silas whispered. "Air is okay for now." Caleb gasped, spitting out the chemical taste. "We're going to die, aren't we?" The kid was shaking, vibrating. "No," Silas said firmly. "We aren't." "My wife is pregnant," Caleb blurted out. He started to sob. "She didn't tell me yet, but I found the test. I was going to tell her tonight that I knew. I'm never going to see him." Silas grabbed Caleb's shoulder. Hard. "Listen to me. You are going to see him. You know why? Because I promised Martha I'd be home for dinner, and I have never broken a promise to that woman. Not once in 40 years. So you hold on to that. We wait. The mine rescue team is coming. I know those boys. Big John Mella. The Kowalski brothers. They are bulldogs. They will chew through this rock to get us." Silas turned off the light to save the battery. Back to the dark. The absolute black. In the sensory deprivation, the mind plays tricks. Silas started to see colors, flashes of blue and purple. He heard voices. His father's voice. "Keep your head down. See, check the roof." "See?" He shook his head. "Stay with me, Caleb," he said in the dark. "Talk to me. Tell me about your truck. Tell me about the engine." Caleb talked. He talked about carburetors. He talked about spark plugs. He talked until his voice went hoarse. Silas listened. He focused on the kid's voice. It was the anchor keeping him from drifting away. Suddenly, a sound. Thump, thump, thump. Distant. Rhythmic. "Did you hear that?" Caleb whispered. "Hush," Silas commanded. He pressed his ear to the coal rib. Coal conducts sound better than air. Thump. 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 "It's the drill," Silas said. A tear rolled down his coal-stained cheek. "They're drilling a locator hole. They know we're here. Or they were guessing. But Silas didn't say that." "Grab a rock," Silas said. "Bang on the roof bolt. 3 times. Then pause." Caleb grabbed a piece of slate. Clang. 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 They waited. Silence. Then, from deep within the rock, ... Thump, thump, thump. Communication. The sweetest sound Silas had ever heard. But hope is dangerous. It makes you impatient. Hours passed. The air started to get heavy again. Silas felt the headache starting. Carbon dioxide building up. His limbs felt heavy. "Lead weights!" "I'm sleepy, Silas," Caleb mumbled. "No sleep in," Silas shouted. He shook the kid. "You sleep, you die. Stand up. We're gonna do jumping jacks." "I can't do it," Silas roared. 2 men, in the pitch black, suffocating, doing jumping jacks in a space the size of a closet. It was madness, but it was survival. Silas felt his chest burning. His heart was hammering. He was too old for this. He felt his knees giving out. He slumped against the ruble. "Just a minute," he whispered. "Just gonna rest my eyes, ... The darkness began to swallow him. Warm. Inviting. He saw the kitchen light. He smelled the coffee. Martha was turning around, smiling. "Dinner's ready, Silas." He reached out to her. A roar, a vibration that shook his teeth. Silas snapped awake. Caleb was passed out beside him. "Caleb!" Silas slapped him. "Wake up!" The sound was coming from the ruble wall, mechanical, grinding. The continuous miner. The rescue team wasn't drilling from above. They were cutting through the collapse. They were digging them out. The noise grew louder, deafening. Water sprayed through a crack in the rocks. Fresh air, cool, sweet air rushed in. Silas took a deep breath. He coughed violently. The dust swirled. A light beam pierced through the crack, brighter than the sun. "Anyone in there?" A voice. A human voice. "Two," Silas croaked. "We got two!" Vance and Miller. The rocks shifted. Hands reached through. Gloved hands, strong hands. They pulled the ruble away. Silas shielded his eyes. He saw the reflector stripes on the jackets. "Mine rescue? We gotcha." "Old-timer," a voice said. It was Big John. Silas had never wanted to kiss a man before, but he almost kissed Big John. They dragged Caleb out first. Put him on a stretcher. It was groggy but breathing. "My wife, ... Caleb mumbled. "You tell her yourself, kid," the medic said. Then they turned to Silas. "Can you walk?" "Silas." Silas tried to stand. His legs were jelly, but his pride was iron. "I walked in," he grunted. "Oh, walk out." With a man under each arm, he stumbled through the breach. The main tunnel was full of men. Cheers erupted, hard men, covered in dirt, cheering. Some were crying. It's a strange thing to see a miner cry. It leaves clean tracks in the dust on their faces. The ride up the elevator was slow. Slower than usual. Or maybe it just felt that way. Silas leaned against the cool metal wall. He checked his pocket. The note was still there. Crinkled, damp with sweat. But safe. The cage reached the surface. The doors opened. It was night. The floodlights of the mine yard were blinding. Ambulances. Sirens. Families waiting by the gate. He saw her. Martha. She was standing by the fence, wrapped in a shawl, her face pale. When she saw him, she didn't run. She just collapsed to her knees, thanking God. Silas pushed past the medics. "I'm fine." He waved them off. He walked to her. He smelled like sulfur and death. She smelled like lavender and rain. He knelt down in the gravel, wrapped his arms around her. They stayed like that for a long time, surrounded by the chaos. Alone in their relief. "You're late for dinner," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I know," Silas rasped. Traffic was murder. 3 months later, the front porch. Silas sat in his rocking chair. The sun was setting over the ridge, painting the sky in oranges and purples. His leg was in a cast, torn ligament from the fall, but he was breathing air that didn't taste like rock. A truck pulled into the driveway. New Ford. Caleb jumped out. He was holding a bundle. A baby carrier. He walked up the steps. "Mr. Vance and Caleb, I wanted you to meet him." Caleb lifted the baby out. Tiny, pink, squirming. "This is Silas," Caleb said. "Silas? Jamis Miller." Silas felt a lump in his throat. "You didn't have to do that, son." "Yes, I did," Caleb said. "He wouldn't be here if not for you. I wouldn't be here. Silas reached out a finger. Rough, calloused, scarred with blue coal tattoos. The baby grabbed it. A tiny hand holding a giant one. The grip was strong. He's got a miner's grip, Silas chuckled. Don't you let him near that mine, Silas added sternly. Send him to college. Let him see the sky. Caleb nodded. Yes, sir. They watched the sun dip below the mountains. The coal trains rumbled in the distance. A lonely sound, but tonight it didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like history. Silas Vance had given 40 years to the dark, but the dark hadn't taken his soul. He looked at the baby. He looked at the mountain. He took a sip of his coffee. I'm retired, Silas whispered to the wind. You hear that, old girl? I beat you. I made it home. The wind rustled the trees. It sounded like a sigh of respect from one old fighter to another.